Hello and welcome to a brand new season, brand new Premier League season. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend, my partner in crime, the one and only Joseph Wright. How you doing, Joe? Ready for
Yeah,
right from the kickoff?
yeah, I'm ready, mate. I'm really excited, and it's good to be back talking about Premier League football. I mean, it doesn't seem that long ago that we were sort of doing these podcasts with the Euros and stuff. So it's good to be back, and obviously every team in the country. We've had some Championship football this weekend, but every team in the country now it's in full swing, isn't it? And we're both looking forward to it.
Yeah, we can't wait. And just before we get started properly, we've actually started a fantasy football, the official Premier League one. So the link will be in the description if you'd like to join our league and you can compete against me and Joe and see if we all just talk and we don't actually put it into practice. So,
Oh, we're definitely all just talk, mate. We're definitely all just talk.
yeah, literally. And also don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to check out all our latest videos. And make sure you subscribe on YouTube and like the video. Anything else to add, Joe?
No, let's get rolling. Let's get rocking. New
Let's
season.
get
Let's go.
started. So, the first game of the Premier League season is going to kick off this Friday. It's going to be Brentford Arsenal. Now, I think this is going to be a very juicy game. I think it's good to get you warmed up for the season. What do you think, Joe?
I think it's gonna be a very good game, very entertaining game. I think Sky Sports have done a good job putting this one together. I think obviously it's Brentford, newly promoted team. I think there's quite a few people who fancy them to do better than they're perhaps labelled by the bookies. So if they play some good attacking football, and when Leicester played them in the FA Cup last season, obviously we won that 3-1, but they played some good stuff. You got players like Ivan Toney who are looking like they could really make it in the Premier League. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them. As for Arsenal, so far, I don't think it's been too good pre-season. I think a lot of their fans are going into the season feeling a bit underwhelmed by the signings. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I can actually see Brentford winning this one. What about you, Will?
Uh, let's just backtrack slightly. I think that Arsenal have made some quite shrewd signings over the summer. Obviously, they've signed Ben White. Do you think he'll be a good signing for Arsenal? He's obviously
I
still quite
do,
young. He's filled the void.
I do, but I just he's a good centre back. Is he going to be the answer to Arsenal's defensive woes? I don't think so. I think he's a good centre back, but I honestly think they need one or two more defenders if they're going to seriously challenge. We're talking about Arsenal Football Club here. I think the fact that they paid 50 million for him, but again, he's English. Obviously went to the
English tax.
yeah, he went to the Euros with England. Again, not discouraging the player. I think he is a really good player, but I don't think he's worth 50 million. And again, I'm not saying that he's not a part of the jigsaw that they need to kind of fix the problem, but they've not made enough signings for me, or kind of a signing of Ben White. Yeah, it's great. It's one problem kind of looked at and maybe fixed. But this guy was playing for Leeds in the Championship. Yes, they got promoted. He's played for Brighton last season. Let's be honest, Brighton, conceded a fair few goals. He was a good defender. He is a good defender, but I don't think he's worth 50 million. I certainly don't think he's the top echelon of defender that Arsenal need. But I think this is kind of showing how far Arsenal have fallen. To be honest, I don't know whether you agree with that. I think
Yeah.
in terms of when I'm talking about fallen, I mean in the terms of like top four. Obviously not getting to the Europa League, so it's the type of player they can go for now. So really, should we be surprised?
No, not at all. And I actually think both teams are going to finish mid-table. Obviously, we'll go into our full uh, league predictions later on, but I think this is a very much a middle of a table clash. Obviously, I think Brentford are going to have a really good first season in the Premier League. I think their style of football suits the Premier League activity. I know we spoke about it last season, didn't we, when least we got the playoffs and the championship,
I
etc.
mean,
But I think they'll do well.
there's parallels between Leeds, if you're going to ask me. I think in terms of the style of football they play, I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but you look at the way they played in the Championship. They're very attacking, very free flowing football. So if I was a Brentford fan, I'd be very excited. And I think they're tipped by a lot of people to stay up and actually do maybe a little bit better than that. So
Yeah, I 100% agree. So let's move on to our predictions for this game. What are you going for, Joe?
I'm going to go for a 1-0 Brentford. I just think, and maybe if it was kind of mid-season, I might change my mind. But I think because they've got that kind of newly promoted team bounce, biggest game in their history of the football club, I just feel like that's going to carry them over the line. So I'm going to go 1-0 Brentford.
1-0 Brentford. I'm actually going to go 2-2. So I haven't told you this, Joe, but for this season, I'm going to keep a little tally of overall how we're going to do. So if we get the prediction right, with a score right and everything, we're going to get 3 points. And if we get the result right, it's going to be 1 point. Okay, Joe?
Yeah, that's fair enough, and we can top that up at the end of the season. It's going to be a fun season.
So we'll add this all up. And don't forget, if you disagree and want to put your own predictions, please comment down below. We want to hear all about it. So let's go to the Saturday game, which is arguably one of the biggest opening games we have this start of the season. Manchester United Leeds. Now, it's an all-time classic, Joe. Talk us through it.
Yeah, obviously these two teams kind of, it's well documented that they don't like each other. It's it's derby of sorts. I feel like this could be anything, couldn't it? First day of the season, you always think first day and last day of the season, you tend to get some wacky score lines. So this could be anything. You got new players to bed in on both teams. Obviously, Sancho. You got a couple of players on the lead side that they've made signings. So it'd be interesting to see if any of them pop. So we got. It's going to be difficult. I would like to say that Man U are probably favourites in this one, as they should be. But it could be anything. We know Leeds can play some good football, especially under the manager that they've got, so under Bielsa. So it's going to be, like I say, very interesting. And it's a good game to kick off the season, really, for both teams. I think, you want to go in straight down running, don't you, really?
Yeah, 100%.
Fired up for the start of the season.
You're not wrong there, Joe. So let's go to our predictions for this match. Nothing else to add.
I'll probably go for 2-1 Man United. I think, like I say, Man U do go favourites. I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds get a draw or even a win out of this one, because I know that they can kind of turn up for the books, especially what we saw last season. But no, I think it'd be a bit remiss of me not to go for United win to start the season.
Yeah. Well, we saw last season where it was a very high-scoring game between Liverpool and Leeds for the opening game of the season, wasn't it? And I think it's going to be a really high-scoring game again. I've actually gone 3-2 to Leeds.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think they might have made some adjustments defensively, Leeds, as well this season. So I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps we don't see them concede as many goals this season, because they did start to get a few clean sheets at the end of last season. So be interesting. But yeah, I think high scoring games not too far fetched, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Now let's move on to the next game. This is a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. It's Burnley Brighton. Now I think both sets of fans will be fairly disappointed in how they did last season. Obviously, Brighton played some really, really good football, but they couldn't stick the ball in the back of the net. And I think they have something to build on for sure. But I think that's one of the key areas they need to work for this season. Wouldn't you agree, Jay?
Yeah, and I think you look at the two teams' transfer activity. It's not bit. They have done some transfer activity. Don't get me wrong, but it's been, I would say, slightly underwhelming. And I know, obviously, these two teams are probably on the lower end of the transfer budget than some of the other teams. Obviously, we know that Burnley like to kind of do above and beyond from the transfer budget. Same with Brighton, but I just don't feel like there's been enough bodies in and out of the club, both clubs. So
You
I
don't
think
think so?
I think it's going to be another difficult season for both these teams. I don't know what you think about that, Will.
I think you're certainly right in the aspect of Burnley, but Brighton have made some very shrewd signings from the rest of Europe. But that's the thing, like we don't know how these new players
I think that's the
are gonna
thing.
perform. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. You can get these players. You know, they can hit the ground running in other leagues. You know, I mean, just talking about Leicester. Yes, I've already brought Leicester up when it's not their turn, but you know, you look at Patson Daka. You know, he's scored a lot of goals in Austria for Salzburg. And you know he's done really well, but you never know quite how these players are going to do you? And I think it's the same for the Brighton lads. You know they've got obviously enough talent to get the call up and get the chance, but now you've got to take it. You know you're in one of the biggest leagues in the world now. You've got to take it, and it'll be interesting to see how they do. But yeah, I've not really been blown away by Brighton signings. I know, like I say, I know they've made a few. I'm not saying, but I just feel slightly underwhelmed by what they've kind of managed to bring in. But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go to the scoreline. What are you going for?
I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go 1-1. I think these two teams are going to be in a similar position at the end of the season, as we'll find out later. But yeah, I think these two teams are similarly matched in different ways. But I think in terms of performance, yeah. So a draw for me, 1-1.
Well, I'm actually going to go 2-1 to Burnley. I just think Burnley. They're normally defensively really, really sound, and they can grab a goal when they need to, and never write off Burnley. That's what I say. So I'm going to go 2-1 Burnley.
The only reason that I've gone for what I've gone for is actually the last couple of seasons for Burnley. I think they have been notoriously slow starters, so I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of struggle in the first sort of 5 or 6 games as they did last season, and then they tend to kind of steady the ship. I mean, obviously, Sean Dyche is a very good manager, and he's been doing it at this level. So you never know. But yeah, Burnley, I'm going to definitely go for a draw.
For sure. Moving on to the next game, Chelsea Crystal Palace. Now, Chelsea haven't made many signings yet, but we all know that Lukaku is probably on his way to Stamford Bridge. Now, I'm going to say this already. I think, and I said this at the end of last season when Chelsea won the Champions League, that under Tuchel, that if they made a really good signing, and Lukaku is that really, really good signing, that out and out goal scorer, which Chelsea have been missing, what Werner wasn't able to do at the start of the season. And we all know that Lukaku can do it in multiple different leagues. Lukaku, if he signs, when he signs, will probably be the top goal scorer. And if that's the case, I actually think Chelsea are going to win the league. I'm saying it now. I'm calling it. It's just a style of football under Tuchel. As we saw in the Champions League, I just think they're going to win the league. What do you make of that, Joe?
Yeah, question for you, Will. Obviously, we were talking about this morning, and I agree. I think Chelsea have got a chance. I think I've put them quite a bit lower down in terms of the top 4 race than you have. But I think we've actually got the same 4 teams in the top 4 this season, haven't we? From our predictions. But obviously, I've put Chelsea a bit further down. But I think you might be right. I think obviously Tuchel's done a great job with him so far, winning the Champions League. He's a good manager and stuff. I can't look past Man City, obviously. But here's my question, because I can't look past Man City. Obviously, all summer this has been a story. You know, Harry Kane reportedly missing training. He's come out last week and said he's not. He's been hurt by the professionalism. But obviously, if he's going to have to continue playing for Tottenham, that's the type of statement he's going to have to put out. Because obviously, if he's going to be in Tottenham's employ, and of course he's not going to want to upset the fans. But if Man City managed to pull off the signing of Harry Kane, does your opinion change? You talk about Lukaku, you know, being world class and being a great signing. Does your opinion change if Man City get that striker, get Harry Kane across the line?
I'm gonna have to say yes, but it's far less likely than the Lukaku, and like you just don't know what's gonna happen with the
No,
Kane
you don't.
situation.
You don't.
Uh, the Tottenham manager has came out and said that he will be available against Man City
But
this weekend, which
odds
will
on for
make
him
it
to score a
very
hat trick.
interesting.
Odds on for him to score a hat trick would be interesting. Sorry, I just got a bit excited by that because it
What?
is.
Yeah, you mean a hat trick of own goals?
Yeah, hat trick of own goals. He's and then he's celebrating with his supposed Man City teammates. But
He,
yeah,
he takes off his Tottenham shirt and it's a Man
it's
City
a
shirt underneath.
grab your popcorn moment, isn't it? For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So let's go back to Chelsea Crystal Palace. What scoreline are you going for?
Scoreline, I'm going to go 2-0 Chelsea, and I think that's being kind. I can't see anything but a Chelsea win.
Yeah.
They notoriously as well when they're in a good place, and I think they are this season to challenge for the title. They always start quite quickly. They tend to get the first game out of the way. I can see Chelsea going for the first sort of 9 or 10 games unbeaten, to be honest.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. But yeah, 2-0 Chelsea.
Just a quick one on Palace. They have made some very, very good signings. They signed that Olise from who was one of the best championship players last season. So I think that's a very, very shrewd signing. It's just you just don't know how they're going to perform under the new manager, Patrick Vieira. Very, very they just don't know how he's going to do. Unexperienced.
I think with Patrick Vieira just on Crystal Palace, I think it is obviously he's got the coaching experience. He was a Man City, we know he's been over in America. We know he's kind of been over in France as well. So we know he's done kind of different jobs. The only thing on him is the classic conversation is that a great player, but does that translate into a great manager? We know that these two things are definitely two different skill sets.
Yeah,
Just
100%.
because you're a great player doesn't mean you're going to be a great manager. And likewise, we've seen some very kind of average players, like, for example, Jurgen Klopp, very average player, but is a great manager. So
Same with Jose Mourinho as well. He wasn't the best player in the world.
No, but he's one of the best managers, or was one of the best managers.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so we'll see how they go. But yeah, I think 2-0 Chelsea's the kind of, for me. What about you, Will?
I've gone 3-0 Chelsea.
Yeah. So I'm not really surprised with that. We've both gone Chelsea wins.
Yeah. Everton, Southampton, the next game is. Now, let's see how Everton life will be without their manager. What do you think, Joe?
I think it's a good thing. I think it's actually a really good thing that he's walked away. And obviously he's gone to Madrid. I really do. Because the fact that he's only spent a season in there and obviously he left Everton in the way that he did, his heart obviously wasn't in it. And you can kind of see that from the start, really. I think, you've got a manager in Rafa Benitez who loves the area. Obviously, old Liverpool manager. I think he's a very good manager. I think Everton will surprise a few teams this season, and I think they will do better than they did last season. I think, you've got to have everybody pulling in the right direction for your club. And if your manager takes the first opportunity and I know it's Real Madrid, but it takes the first opportunity to leave. I don't. Now looking back at last season, was Carlo Ancelotti's heart in it for Everton? Very, very good.
I just want to stop you there, Joe. I don't agree with that because throughout the whole process, he said he loved the city, he loved the fans, and
but
he did say that the only team
honest,
he would
mate,
leave for was Real Madrid, and any manager would. Let's be real.
Yeah, but like I'm not being funny, mate. I've taken a girl home on Saturday night, told her how much I feel for her, and then never seen her again on Saturday morning. So, you can lie to people, and this is the thing: is just because he said something doesn't mean that that's how he was feeling, and his actions at the end of the season showed that. So, I'm sorry, you could say what he said last season, but right now, with the argument that I've got, is you've got basically him saying all that, but what's the last action that he did? He left the club. and it left a lot of Everton fans hurt. And to me, it just didn't sit like for me. That kind of showed everything that I needed to see. So you can sit there and say, "Oh, he said this, he said that," but yeah, he said that all prior to leaving the club.
Yeah,
So
but let's be real, it was Real Madrid.
yeah, but Real Madrid in debt, I mean, I know it's Real Madrid and they're a big club, but I think they're also struggling as Barcelona is struggling, which we will actually touch upon a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, I just feel like Carlo Ancelotti was sending Everton through a bit of a loop, to be honest. But that's my opinion.
Controversial, Joseph. Let's move on anyway. So, what scoreline do you think it's going to be?
It's Everton. Who is it? Everton and
Southampton.
Everton and Southampton. I'm going to go for Everton. Everton 2-1.
2-1. I've gone 0-0 for this game, so we'll see what happens with that. The next game, it'll be your team, Leicester City versus Wolves. Talk me through it, Joe.
Very excited for this one. Obviously, we won the Community Shield at the weekend, which was a good result for us. I mean, I just want to touch upon it, Will, if you don't mind me. I know I said I was going to today.
Yeah, of course.
Community Shield, obviously, we won 1-0. Very good result. There's been a few fat Leicester fans, obviously, very excited by it. I'm a very avid Leicester fan. I'm not quiet about it at all on my social medias or on here, in fact. But I just wasn't as excited as some of the other Leicester fans, and I just feel like the Community Shield is a bit of a glorified friendly. It's a great one to win going into the season. You beat Man City, but let's not forget Man City had a lot of players out, like your De Bruyne's, obviously Edison, Stones, Walker. Do you know what I mean? They were all out because of coming back from international. They've had an extended break. So I just kind of feel like, yes, it was a good result. And it's great to go into the season, but, it was a good win. But what I'm saying is, as much as I wouldn't have been disappointed if we'd lost it, I'm happy we won it. But the thing is, you got to take it with a pinch of salt. I don't know whether you agree with that, Will, but if you're in my position, how would you feel about it?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, to be fair, Joe.
I mean, it's just a lot of fans. Kind of obviously it's another trophy, so to speak, and it is down as a main game now and a trophy, so it's a good result, and I was really happy with it. But like I say, Man City and the hate that Grealish was getting actually for playing 20 minutes and not scoring 3 goals, I thought was a bit ridiculous. What about you?
Yeah, certainly unjustified. Grealish has
Yeah.
done nothing wrong. You would go to Man City. I know we've spoken about it before.
Yeah, well,
it's his chance to go, and I think Champions League football, playing with the top players in the world, why wouldn't you want to play for them? So anyone would play for them if they had the chance.
Yeah, just on Leicester City signings made. Obviously, the big one for me is Daka. I think he looks a real player. He does look. I've seen him in pre-season, and I know it's only pre-season, but he does look a ready-made replacement for when Vardy does retire. He's 22 years old. He's from Zambia. Obviously, Red Bull Salzburg as well. So I think it's a good signing, and he looks hungry as well. He looks like he wants to prove a point. Very happy with that. Obviously, defensively as well, we've just signed Ryan Bertrand, who actually can cross a ball, which is like, for me, is like, thank God.
Yeah.
The amount of corners we did not score from or didn't get crossed into an area. So the fact that he can cross a ball from a corner kick, for me, is a massive thing that we needed, and we've got that now. So
that's a huge asset to have.
It is. Just going on to Wolves, obviously new manager. How do you think they're going to do? Just quickly.
It's hard to say. I think it's still early days, obviously, and I think only time will tell. But I think Leicester are going to win this game 2-0. I think it's just going to be too much for them.
Yeah, I've gone for the same scoreline. I think Leicester will. I mean, we've unfortunately got a massive injury in Wesley Fofana. Speedy recovery, young lad, because obviously he broke his leg in a pre-season game, which was when I say filled me with dread and disappointment was the understatement. Such a great player for last season coming in, and to break his leg like that in a pre-season game, I might add, is just ridiculous. But yeah, 2-0 to Leicester for me.
Yeah. So moving on, Watford Villa. What do you think, Jay?
I think obviously I know that Villa have been spending the money, the Jack Grealish money, and they've bought in players such as Ings and is it Leon Bailey as well from.
Oh yeah, he's I think he's gonna light the Premier League up.
Yeah, so
I've always rated him.
So they've made some good signings, and everything. You know, they're linked with a few more players as well. I think they're going to have another good season. Although I've put them quite low down, actually, thinking about it. I think maybe that was due to the Grealish effect, maybe. But with the players they've signed, you never know how. It's all whether these new players can come in, and obviously we know Danny Ings can do it. He's been doing it for Southampton for a number of seasons now. But whether the new players can come in, and obviously you got Buendia as well from Norwich. So it's whether they can go and do it for Villa. Be interesting. I think I can only see an Aston Villa win. Well done to Watford again for getting promoted. What do you think about them, Will?
I think it's going to be a very interesting season for them because they're a bit of a yo-yo club in recent years, aren't they? So I think they've made quite a few good signings, as Watford often do. But it just depends how they perform. Like Kane, it's hard to say. Sometimes the player can be good when you sign him, and then he plays his first game, and it'll be the worst play you've ever seen in your life. So it's hard to tell, isn't it? But again, I think you're right. Villa are going to win this one 3-1.
I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go. Sorry to say, I'd got this marked down as a 3-1 as well. So I'm gonna go with you on that one.
Okay. And moving on to Norwich Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see anything but a Liverpool win on this one personally. I think Liverpool are going to come back stronger. Obviously, Van Dijk's back. They've obviously got a very strong. They did get an injury to Robertson in their last pre-season game.
Yeah, we don't know the length of that injury
don't
yet,
know
do
the
we?
extent of that. Whereas obviously Wesley Fofana, just going back to him, it's not going to be until next year that we see him again, because he did break his leg. So I think good luck with Robert, but it does look like it's going to be at least 2 or 3 months by the sounds of it. From what's coming out of the club, I don't know whether you agree with that, but I think from what's coming out, it's not a kind of couple of weeks jobby, is it? By the sounds of it.
Yeah. So hopefully, only time will tell on that one, won't it?
But yeah, I think for Liverpool, I can see them coming back this season. Can't see them losing to Norwich. I'm going to go 3-0 Liverpool on this one, and I'm going to pass it over to you. What do you think of Norwich and their chances?
I think, they have sold their best player, Buendia, so it's be very interesting to see how they play. Obviously, again, they're a bit of a yo-yo club, and going to the game, notoriously, Liverpool demolish Norwich every time they play them. You see it in recent years, a good few years ago now, where Suarez scored 4 goals against Norwich, didn't he?
Well, he scored 3 times. He scored a hat-trick against them. I think he's the only player to do that against one club.
Yeah.
He scored a hat-trick of hat-tricks.
And speaking of 4 goals, I think Liverpool are going to win 4-1.
I'll go 4-0. It was actually opening day of the season, not last season, but the season before. It was 4-1 then. Grant Hanley opened the season with an own goal, if you remember. So yeah, I think Liverpool will win this one easily, and I don't just to go on to predictions. I really don't fancy Norwich's chances this season.
Yeah, same here. We'll go into it in a minute, right? So moving on to the next game, Newcastle West Ham. Now, if the Willock transfer goes through, I think Newcastle might do a bit better than what we think initially.
Well, I've
Wilson as well.
So transfer, haven't I? I factored it in, and that's why you were a bit surprised. But that was kind of my stipulation at the start of the show. Is I did factor that if Willock signs for Newcastle, where I think they might finish.
Yeah, for sure. And West Ham, obviously, West Ham had a storming season last season. They made some very good shrewd signings again over the summer. I just think West Ham are going to be too much for Newcastle. What do you think, Joe?
Again, it's difficult because I don't think we're going to be right on all of these at all, because it's difficult to call the. I think, like I said to you earlier, the first day and the last day of the season are more difficult to call because again, it's people finding their feet. You know, especially the kind of players who haven't been away on an international duty this summer. That they've had a full summer off. Obviously, you've had pre-season, but pre-season games, as we know, aren't the same as kind of full Premier League football or full Championship football, for that matter. So, you know, it's going to be an interesting one. You know, I fancy West Ham to do all right this season. I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to West Ham on this occasion.
Yeah, I've gone 3-1 West Ham, so we're both somewhat agreed on that. I'm moving on to the final game. It's a juicy one of the opening game week. Tottenham Man City. Now, I said it earlier, but Nuno has came out to say that Kane will be available against Man City. So get your popcorn ready, Joe.
I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think even if, right, there wasn't this kind of surrounding, will he go to Man City, will he not? You know, we know that Man City, and Pep's come out and made a couple of statements saying that he's a Tottenham player, trying to kind of stir the pot a little bit, get Kane sort of thinking about things. But as we know, I think what we've seen over the last week, Kane's trying to push it, isn't he? But we know what Daniel Levy's like. We've had a friend of the show, Will, on, and you know Daniel Levy's very shrewd. I don't think he won't sell Kane unless he feels the price is right.
And what is that price?
We're actually, I think it's around 120 to 150 millions being reported. But I think what we're seeing here now is actually with Kane, because he's got 3 years on his contract. We did talk about this at the end of last season, the power being with Tottenham. I think more and more we're realising that the power is with Tottenham. And actually to see him maybe go this transfer window might not happen. We've been talking about it for a number of months on this show and off this show. But actually seeing it happen now, it might not, Will. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I'm not so. I was convinced a few weeks ago, but now you're right. You just don't know what's going to happen, and I think it's 50-50 at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Tottenham fans will be delighted to hear that in terms of keeping the player, because I think we all thought we were like 90 to 95% sure at one point he'd go. Honestly, that was my feeling. I don't know about you, but that was my feeling. But I think Will did say when he was on the show at the end of last season that, you know, Daniel Levy won't move unless the price is right, and he's proven to be right here. I think Daniel Levy's being very kind of cards close to the chest and not wanting to give away the player, because he is Tottenham's main asset at the moment. You know,
yeah, for sure.
You're not going to want to give you know if he's sold, it's going to be very, very difficult to get into that top four. Even more so than it was last season.
Yeah. So, what scoreline you go for, Joe?
It's difficult because I don't think Kane's going to play in this game. I know. Nuno said he was going to be available, but the point I was going to make was he's only just come back off his holiday. He's taken no part in pre-season. So even if there was no talk of him leaving, I think it would be very, very remiss for him to kind of expect him to start this game.
Yeah.
I mean, because of the turnaround from the Euros and obviously coming back off holiday and everything like that. So it's going to be difficult. I can't see anything but a Man City win. Although they've got a few players out themselves. I'm going to go for a 2-0 Man City.
2-0, and I've gone 3-1 Man City. So we'll see what happens with that. Very, very interesting. So let's move on to our league predictions. The league table predictions, I should say. So, Joe, I'm going to let you go first.
Right. So obviously we both put our kind of all 20 teams, and we've put where we think teams are going to finish. I'll just give you a kind of an idea of where I think the table's going to be. So we've gone for the same top four, but in different positions. So my champions for 2021-22 is Man City in first, Liverpool in second, Man U in third, Chelsea in fourth, Everton in fifth. I think they'll be the surprise package. I mean, whether you call that a surprise package or not, I don't know. Leicester City in sixth. I think they'll just fall one space lower than they did last season. Still be a very good season for us if that happens. Leeds United in seventh. I think they're going to be pushing for Europa, and I think they'll get it as well. Tottenham in eighth. Obviously, depending on the Harry Kane situation, it could be lower than that. West Ham in ninth. I think they've had a good season. Arsenal in 10th. I think they will fall down lower this season. I'm still not blown away. And that's with the stipulation, even if they sign Maddison as well. Even if they sign Maddison, I think that they will still be in and around mid-table because he's definitely not the saviour for them. And I'm saying that as a Leicester fan. Wolves in 11th, Newcastle in 12th, again with the stipulation that they signed Joe Willock, but looks like it's going through. Crystal Palace in 13th, Aston Villa in 14th, Southampton in 15th, Brentford in 16th. I did sort of play around with them sort of finishing around 13th, 14th at the start, but I'd split other teams in. It was that thing, you know what I mean, Will, where you look at teams left and you're like, I don't know where they're going to fit in. So Brentford in 16th, I think that'll be a good season for them, even if Brighton in 17th, just to avoid relegation. I've got Burnley in 18th, Watford in 19th, and Norwich to finish dead last.
Oh, very, very interesting indeed. I'm going to run through mine now. I actually think Chelsea are going to win the league. I've mentioned this before, especially if they sign Lukaku and the momentum from last season. Man City will finish second. Man United will finish third. Liverpool finish fourth. I know that's controversial. Leicester to finish fifth. West Ham finish sixth, especially if they have the momentum from last season. Tottenham to finish seventh. Arsenal to finish eighth. Everton to finish ninth. Leeds to finish 10th. Now, from 6th to 10th, that could be in any order.
Yeah, I think we've gone for the same top 10, actually, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that could happen in any order. You just don't know what's going to happen, do you? It could be very fine margins indeed. Brentford are going to have a storming of a season, in my opinion, and finish 11th, and I think they'll snap your hands off at that.
You know what? I'll even though I've put them down in 16th, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So fair play.
Villa to finish 12th. They're some good players, but will they survive after Grealish? I think they'll do all right. Wolves will finish 13th. Burnley will finish 14th. Brighton will finish 15th. 16th have gone for Southampton. And 17th, what do you think have gone for, Joe?
I don't know.
Is that of Newcastle, Palace, Watford, or Norwich? Who do you think I've put to 17th?
I'm gonna say Newcastle.
You've gone for Newcastle. I've actually gone for Palace.
Oh, you've gone for Newcastle to get relegated. Interesting.
I do. I even with signings, I'm just not sure if it'd be enough. Watford to finish 18th. I actually put Newcastle to finish 19th. And I know you might think that's harsh, but Norwich I put for 20th.
Yeah, I just can't see Norwich doing anything. They've been very yo-yo in the past sort of 6 years, getting promoted, relegated. I can't see any difference, to be honest.
Yeah, really for sure. Also, Joe, just a sidebar. While we've been recording, bit of breaking news that Messi has agreed to sign for PSG on a 2-year deal. Official.
It's kind of been coming, hasn't it? We know it's been coming. We were going to talk about transfers just to finish off. Leads us into that then. So we've obviously done that. We'll come back to our players and young players of the season in a minute. But on the Messi situation, I just want to clear something up so people understand this on our platform. And correct me if I'm wrong, Will, but as I understand it, there's been a lot of misinformation online, and people say, why hasn't Messi signed for them for free? as I understand it, La Liga won't allow Messi to sign for Barcelona for free because Barcelona are 25% over their wage cap. They will not allow Barcelona at this point to sign players for any money, for no money. You can't. You still have to, even if he's on no money, you still have to have a contract. Which
Yeah,
means,
and that contract as well, just to add to that, Joe, people saying, oh, why is he playing for free? The reason for that is that if you're going to renew a contract, it can be no less than 50%. So people arguing why they're paying free. Messi offered to pay for 50%, which is the least amount he could have played for under the rules and stipulations for La Liga. So that's one of the reasons as well, Joe.
yeah, for me, I actually didn't know that, so thanks for that, Will. But we're still singing from the same sheet. Is it was physically impossible for Messi to play for free. Messi, like you just said as well, Messi was playing for the least amount of money that he could. He did not want to leave Barcelona, as you could see by his press conference. You know, Barcelona didn't want him to leave, but this for me obviously goes higher than that, and it just means for me that they needed to get themselves sorted out, and they haven't. They've still got to cut 25% of their wage. I don't even know how you get into that state, to be honest. Will, do you? I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, let's be real. Football's been unsustainable for years. So that's one of the key reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it has, but it's just a bit of a farce. But it's the fact that Messi, he's actually a player that doesn't want to leave the club but has to, which is ridiculous, really.
Yeah, it's their own fault, though. To be fair,
is it definitely? So that news that's just come out, is that official? Is that official news? Is that, or is that just come off kind of one of the many pages that release the news? Is it? What's the source? You don't mind me asking.
Sky Sports Fabio guy on Twitter, who's like one of the most reliable.
Yeah, we know he's reliable. Yeah.
Sorry, not Fabio. Fabrizio.
All right. No, well, yeah, we know he's reliable, and so that is a pretty solid source. Then, to be honest, we thought that he'd be signing for PSG because we know PSG are made of money. Puts them in a very good position now with the front three that they've got: Neymar, Mbappe, and now Messi. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I still don't think they'll win the Champions League.
Oh no, I don't, and I think the reason for that, I mean, obviously we're digressing a little bit, but I think the reason for that is because the French league is so heavy weighted towards the top with teams like PSG. I know Lille won it last year, but with teams like PSG and a few other teams, that there's not enough competition. So when it comes to PSG playing teams like Man City, playing teams like Barcelona, playing teams like Real Madrid, they're going to struggle naturally because they're not used to playing teams on the same wavelength as them. Do you know what I mean? So I think that has something to do with it for sure.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up now. So let's say your top goal scorer for your prediction, your player of the season, and your young player of the season. Over to you, Joe.
Okay, so I'll go for top goal scorer. For me, is going to be Mo Salah. I think it's an easy one to go for, but I don't think anybody can kind of begrudge me that because he's done so well and he's come so close when he hasn't won the Golden Boot. I think he's going to be firing again. Young player of the season for me is going to be Jadon Sancho. I think he's going to be a quality player. I mean, I know he only played a few minutes for England in the Euros, but from what I saw, he was very, very impressive, and I think he's going to be a hell of a signing for Man United. And player of the season, I've gone for none other than Kevin De Bruyne. I just think he's good, he's quality, and also because I put Man City to finish top. I think he's going to be keeping them ticking over. And again, that's all dependent on injuries and stuff. You know, I'm not saying he's injury prone, but we know he can have spells on the sideline sometimes, depending. But no.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone will begrudge you of your various predictions. But for me, my top goal scorer, I know it hasn't gone through yet, but I think if Lukaku does sign, I'm calling it now, he'll be the top goal scorer in the Premier League. I think he would score more than 25 goals.
You think he'll score more than 25 goals? I'm not so sure.
I'm calling it now. That's just my prediction. Making it juicy, you know, Joe.
20.
Player of the season, I agree. I've gone for Kevin De Bruyne. No one could argue, especially I know he's not 100% fit at the moment, but when it comes back, hopefully he'll have an injury-free season and he'll be my player of the year. Young player of the year, we saw him in Euros. I've gone for Saka. I think this will be his real breakout year. I know he's had a breakout year before, but this will be his real breakout year. And I think he'll score a good few goals, get a few assists, and tear down the league.
And you know what? Just quickly on Saka, I know we've got to go at a time and whatnot, but I think Saka for me obviously really impressed me in the Euros. I wasn't his biggest fan before the Euros, but what a player he was! And you know what? Arsenal got a real gem on their hands. They need it at the moment, by the way. They need those type of players because he's a top quality player. And if Arsenal don't do as well, if they do as badly as I think they're going to do this season. Again, stipulation, even if they do sign James Maddison, which I think will happen, they could be in problems of losing a player like Saka. If they do as badly as I think they're going to.
Yeah, for sure. And on that note, I think we'll leave it there. Thanks very much, Joe.
Cheers, mate.
It's been good as always. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and get all our videos, all our latest videos. Make sure you like the video and comment your opinions. And also, don't forget to join our Fantasy Football League as well. The link will be in the description down below.
Good to be back, Will. Good to be back.
It's good to be back and bring on the season. As always, we'll be joined by the one and only Peter Crouch.
Yeah.
Can't wait for it, as always.